Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Welcome to part 2 of working on very small trees. In part 1, I took this false cypress and I reduced it down to, basically its skeleton, taking it back as far as I could, and then I'll kind of grow it out over the years, shaping it and making it look like a very miniature tree. Today, I'll be working on these 4 trees, pruning them back to the basic structure, and then growing them in as, super miniature trees. I will be building a display stand to display all these miniature trees on. And when it gets closer to spring, I'll be potting them up in some of these tiny bonsai pots I have. So that will be very fun, matching the tree with the pots. Here is a look at some of the small pots I have. They're all very beautiful. Nice little miniature pots. There's even one I 3D printed here, which is cool. There's a pot made by Eldon here, larger pot. There's the one I made over here out of clay at Isabella's. There's a nice Japanese pot here. There's some beautiful pots. This one's by Sophie. Yeah, beautiful pots. Here's another 3D printed one here, a very ornate one. Cool pots. So that'll be really fun planting these trees in pots. But I have to wait till a little later. It's too early to start repotting here in the early part of February. If it was the early part of March, yes, I think I could begin repotting, but it's still too early. We had snow last night. The weather is quite warm out now. Yesterday, it rained the entire day. It just poured the entire day. I did the paper route in the morning. I got soaked. I came out later in the day to make a video, and it was just raining. The greenhouse was cold and damp, and I said, I just can't do this. So I went back in the house. It was just, I don't know, it was one of those days that was just damp, cold, and miserable. Because the weather is going to be quite warm for at least the next 2 weeks, I closed the valve on my cube, my rainwater collection system. And because it rained all day yesterday, I did collect a bit of water. I'll show you that. I watered my trees the other day, and I was hoping to collect enough water to, top the barrels up. So I did. I got quite a bit of water. I got over 900 liters or 250 gallons of water in this cube. Outside here, I have more pots underneath this tarp, more miniature pots. I think I can see some right here. Yeah, there's some miniature pots in here. So I'm going to leave those. I don't need them till spring, so by then, hopefully all the snow will be melted. I can remove the tarp and then get out all my miniature pots for when I do repot all these miniature trees. I've got my truck and my cars out here gathering patina. You can see I sanded them lightly, and you can see on the truck there's rust forming. You can see it on the bed rails here, on the roof. Yeah, there's rust spots starting. So that's what I want. I want the rust to kind of streak down on the paint and give it a real abandoned look, like it was sitting in the middle of a field for 40 years. I've got the beetle out here just to fade the paint. I figure the more sun it gets on it, the more it'll start to look like an abandoned beetle. Now this isn't made of metal. It's a die cast, what is it made of? Like white metal. And it doesn't rust. It doesn't get iron oxide rust on it. It corrodes, but it's like a white kind of powdery rust. So it'll never look like this truck with its natural rust stains and streaks. This one, all I can hope for is the paint will fade, and then I can sprinkle iron filings on it, or glue them on and then let them rust, and it'll get rust streaks going down it. So that'll be something for the future. I am back in the greenhouse. Outside today, it doesn't go above freezing. The high of today is 0 or the freezing point, so it's quite a bit nicer here in the greenhouse. So let's begin today's work. The next tree I'll be working on is my Port Oxford cedar. You can see the scientific name there. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. That is quite a mouthful. So I'll rotate it around, maybe, there. It's got kind of, there's not much foliage in this spot at the top. It's a bit strange. So I'm not sure what's going on with the structure. It has a fairly thick trunk down here. And I've got to look in and see what's happening with the structure, whether it's just a bunch of straight branches coming up from like a central trunk or what's going on. So let's go in now and see what's going on with this tree. I'm switching to my close-up glasses to look at this tree. So here I'm looking at the structure. So I'm trying to figure out where this kind of thick trunk, what it does. All I see is a division of finer branches. I'm not sure what happens to that center core of a trunk. You can see all the budding all over this trunk, which is a good sign. It probably means it backbuds well. Maybe too well. So it looks like I can follow the trunk line up here to this leader right here. And I think that is my central strongest leader on the tree right there. Wow. So, you know, I want to make these trees as small as possible. So if I want to reduce the height of this central leader down, I have a lot of good budding in this area, but also off of the trunk I have all kinds of good budding. So I think I can successfully take it back quite short. So I'll prune this branch off here. I've got a bud here. I've got a bud here, so I can take this one back to here. I'll take this one back to here. And this one back to here. So that kind of reduces that central trunk line. Now, let's prune all these branches back. And I don't know which ones I'll be keeping and which ones I'll be getting rid of, but I'm just pruning them back short and compact for now, and then I'll take a look at the structure of the tree. Oh, it smells nice, this. Yeah, I'll look at the structure of the tree and then decide what I want to keep and what do I want to remove. So I'm just making it compact for now. Now this initial reduction process that I'm doing, it's, you know, fairly risky because, you know, you're taking the tree back to the, what I call the danger zone. So here's a shoot here. There's one that goes vertical and a more horizontal one, so I'm going to take the vertical shoot off. Yeah, you're taking it back. You know, it's always risky doing a reduction like this, but it reveals the core structure of the tree and getting it really small and compact, and then you can build your branches out. You only need to do this major reduction kind of once. The rest is more, you know, clip and grow, developing your structure. I'm just taking out some of these vertical shoots. And you always have to leave healthy foliage on the end of your branches, otherwise they'll just die back. So I'm hoping I'm leaving enough on this. Time will tell, that's for sure. And you know, if you don't succeed, well, that's how you learn, by making mistakes. Usually. I mean, you can read up and take a safe amount off, but sometimes playing it safe doesn't give you the tree you want. Sometimes you have to do some fairly drastic work to get your tree reduced to an awesome structure. So I'm leaving You know, enough foliage on that I think the tree will be healthy and will survive. So you can see I've got the tree very small now, but it's not a very good shape. I think ideally, you know, I would go for a conical shape on this one because it's set up that way. It has all these lower branches, and I think a conical form is good. I got a lot of back budding in here, so I can take this off. This one, again, I've got back budding in here, so I can take this one off. Trying to get that conical form now. Here too, I've got back budding. I can't take it too far back because you have to keep green foliage at the tips for the sap to flow and develop those back buds. Here's one sticking way out here. I can take this back a little further. Take this one back further. Take this back. There's a vertical one sticking up I can take off. And one here too. Again, you know, getting that conical form. It's not the tightest conical form yet. It's kind of a wide triangular form or conical form, but it is getting there. It's, you know, I've definitely taken steps to get the tree going in the right direction. And, you know, I've sort of established the style of the tree. I know what I want to do on the tree now. So I think I've pretty well taken it back as far as I want. Maybe just clear this one branch out of here. It's cluttered in here. There. Yeah, I think that's about as far as I want to go with this tree. And I think it's looking really good. I think that's nice. So that takes care of my Port Oxford cedar. Clip back, nice and compact, and I'll try and just improve that conical form in the future. Here's a close-up look at the tree now. So there it is. Yeah, I think I've left enough on that it'll develop quite nicely in spring. The next tree I'll be working on is this Cryptomeria japonica Tenzan, Japanese cedar, miniature spreading shrub for tight green foliage. Grows very slowly, perfect for rock gardens. And it was $14.99. All these trees were $14.99. So, you know, if I prune them back and I do lose them, well, I'm out 15 bucks. But I think it's worth, you know, trying to create little miniature trees out of them. I think they'll be little gems for the future. All right, let's begin on this tree now. This one is very, very dense. It is, I mean, it's almost impossible to see the structure in here. I haven't seen the trunk at all yet. I don't even know if there is a trunk in here. There's got to be. Might be multiple trunks, who knows. So a lot of dead branches on the bottom. I'm going to prune those away because they'll never grow again. And I doubt I'll want a little fine deadwood on the bottom of this tree. You never know, but... So I'm just clipping it away. I'm leaving a bit of a stub in case I do want some deadwood on the tree. I still have not seen the trunk on this tree. Okay, there it is there. I can see it in here now. It looks quite reasonable. I mean, I could probably pop this out of the pot. Could I? Yeah. There's the roots. You can see the roots, they haven't died back for the winter. They're still white. If this was kept in a colder climate, these fine roots die off and the tree then goes dormant for the winter, and then in spring the root system begins to grow again. But because this has been in the greenhouse, the roots are in pretty good shape. These fine roots never die off over the winter. So that's one advantage of keeping trees in a greenhouse just above freezing, is you don't kill off all your fine roots. And it makes your tree healthier in spring. So I'm hoping you can see the trunk in there. It's quite nice. It looks like there's some branches coming off of it here. Some fairly strong horizontal branches right here. But really hard to see. Yeah, here's some more very strong upright branches. So these trees are very difficult to do the initial prune on because you can't see what's going on. It's like, well, if I prune this branch off, what if I take off a branch I want? So, you know, the first thing to do is try and figure out the structure. Is, you know, remove your dead wood, try and get in there, see what's going on. Try and look at your trunk lines and your branch lines. Do a bit of digging and prying and bending to try and figure out what's going on. So there's definitely a branch on this left-hand side here. It comes up and shoots out, and there's multiple strong shoots coming off of it. It's very, very strong. Now it's fairly low down. You know, there's not much of a trunk on this tree that's visible. There might be, you know, it might go down a little deeper, the trunk, which it looks like it does. Just going to remove some of this surface soil here. Okay, it looks like my root base starts somewhere around here. So I have a little more trunk than I initially had. I am going to remove these downward facing branches here. I don't think I'll ever use those. They're too low, hanging down on the ground. I mean, if you wanted to make this a cascade or something, you might use those, but it's unlikely. So that kind of cleans up the bottom of the tree. So now I'm following this branch up. And boy, is it congested. Some more deadwood I can take out here. Dead foliage, dead branches, they just got shaded out. And I think you have to have, when you buy these little trees, you have to have the attitude like, you buy a little tree like this and you have no idea what the structure's like on it. And you're going to get some that are just exceptional trees, and then you're going to get others that you kind of like, what am I going to do with it? It's got nothing going for it, or there's nothing really very good on it. And yeah, you've got to accept that you're going to buy some gems, and then others are going to be disappointing. And I'm not saying this one's disappointing. I'm just saying that you will get that. When you can't see the structure of the tree, you can't see the trunk, you're kind of just buying blindly, hoping you have something good. And if it doesn't turn out so good, well, you can try and make it into something, or you can buy another tree and hope it's better. But generally, you can always make a poor looking tree into something cool. There's always a solution out there somewhere. I'm going to take, there's a branch here growing above this woody branch that's like soft new growth, and it's really congested in here. I do want to keep my, there's a bug there, I don't want the bug. I do want to keep my woody branch there, so I'm going to get rid of this soft growth just to clean it out. Hopefully I won't regret that decision in the future. I might say, oh, if only I had a branch there. But I don't think so. I'm taking some more deadwood out here. Again, over here, there's some soft growth here I'm going to take out. Trying to keep my woodier branches. Okay. So you can see I have the lowest branches on the right. Then I come up here to the left. I have another branch somewhere. And off of that branch, there's all kinds of shoots coming off. There's one coming horizontally here. I don't think I want that because it doesn't flow, so I'll take that off. This branch above flows better, kind of. Yeah, I'm looking for flow lines. There's a vertical one I can take off here. Vertical one I can take off here. So I'm trying to reveal the structure. Now here, I've got a branch here. I'm going to take the long shoot off, keeping it compact, because this growth is way out here. So I'll take that off. And instead of that, I'll use this growth that's more compact, closer to the trunk. I'll take a vertical one out there. Same with this one. I've got some shoots close to the trunk. I'll take out this long piece here. Keeping everything that's close to the trunk and pruning away all my stuff, my branches that stick out way too far. Because, you know, we are trying to create a small tree here, not a large tree. There's a vertical shoot I can remove. Now, yeah, this branch, you can see it goes way out. There's some really vigorous growth out here. I don't want my growth way out there, so I'm going to take this big vigorous shoot off, this one right here. So here I go, big cut coming up, just like that. Keeping my branches that are close to the trunk line here. Here's another one sticking straight up. I'll get rid of that. Cut this one back. So I'm still not really seeing the tree yet. I'm just trying to do basic pruning, getting rid of my long shoots. So here's another one where I've got foliage closer to the trunk, so I'll take the big shoots off, the big long vigorous shoots off, take them back. Vertical one I can take off there. So this branch, this one off to this side, again I need to find, well, I can prune it right back to here. Taking this whole shoot off, boom, and this one, so I can take that right off, like that. So now you can see we're getting down to a small tree. I've got my apex up here, my leader. I'm going to remove this vertical growth or reduce it back. Take this shoot back. So this is all, you can see there's a central leader here going straight up. So I've got to sort it out. I think my apex will be this one. And then there's a branch out the back here that's too thick and too coarse, so I'm going to take it right back. Taking that all off. So now you can see my leader coming up. Take this back. Take this back. Really reducing this back to a small tree. Now, I've got two branches on the left here. I've got this one in front and then a thicker one out the back. I think the one in the front's got to go like that. Move that one hanging down. Vertical one I can take off there. So you can see it's getting very, very small. Here's one sticking up here. That's coming in on itself. I'll take that out. Reduce this back. Now these branch tips will brown because I'm scissor pruning them. I could pinch them like this, like that, and that'll help with the browning. But at this point in time, it doesn't really matter if I get brown tips because it will grow. If you're getting it ready for a show or display, then you worry about your brown tips. I'm just cleaning up some of the old needles here. Okay, so I'm getting down to a little tree. Just looking at this back branch here. I think I'll keep it like that. Just take a bit more off there. I think that's going to be it for this tree. Maybe just prune this off. Yeah, I think that's a nice looking little tree there. And you can imagine, let me get one of these little pots. Well, that pot looks way too big for that tree. Let me get a smaller pot. So maybe a pot this size, yeah. So you can see a pot that size would look right when this foliage fills out a bit. At the moment it looks a little even too big for the tree, but the tree will definitely grow into a pot that size. Okay, so that's got that cryptomeria pruned up. The next tree I'll be working on, does that look like my hair? It does look like my hair. Is a Hinoki false cypress chiraman, upright plant with tightly congested dark green foliage, ascending branches irregularly along main stem, grows slowly, perfect for rock gardens and troughs. Troughs? What's a trough? I have no idea what a trough is. That's a strange term. A trough. If anyone knows what that means, perfect for rock gardens and troughs. I have no idea what a trough means, what they're talking about. Anyway, so let's get this tree pruned up. Here is a look at this Hinoki false cypress, and it is very, very dense, the foliage on it. It's very stiff, dense. It doesn't even look like a tree. It's so bizarre. You can see there's a bit of dead foliage at the bottom. There's a weird branch growing out here. There is a weed here I'll remove. And another one here. There. So, yeah, it looks like the trunk comes up. It's very straight. And then it divides here. And this foliage is almost like a burl. It's like so thick and dense. I'm sure underneath there is a branch structure. So again, I'm growing this as a small miniature tree. I will need to prune it back. And I've got to see, I have to see what is attached to what. So it definitely divides into two branches up top here. And I don't think I want those two branches. I think I want to prune it back at least to here. So I will. And these I'll definitely try and root these branches. I think these grow well from cuttings. So I'm going to take them right off at the base of these branches, leaving no stub, hopefully. Here I go with the first one. You can see the diameter of the branch there. So there's one cutting. Nice cutting. Now, the question is, do I want to remove this one too, or do I want to continue my trunk line? Is that too high? Maybe not. I mean, I can have a taller tree as long as I keep it compact. I definitely don't want this bottom branch, so I'm taking that right off. That's gone. Another cutting. And then maybe I will keep part of the upper tree here. I definitely prune it back to at least here, like that. Another cut. So I'm getting it down to a kind of a tall tree. I'm going to remove this dead foliage off the bottom. It's too small to be made into dead wood or anything like that. It'll just, fall off naturally probably if I didn't trim it off. So that's got that. So now you can see it gives me the impression of a tall evergreen tree. I'm going to take these lower branches off. I do not need branches this low on the trunk. And I should see where the root system starts. This trunk may go down into the ground quite far. definitely goes down. Yeah, down to about here. So I've gained about, a couple more centimeters of trunk on it. I'm just going to clean up this stub here. Take that back. Like that. That should heal quite nicely. I still think this branch is a little low. These ones are good. This one's a little long here. I'm going to take it back to here. Take the tip off and take the vertical growth off. Take the vertical growth off that branch because I want these branches to cascade. They seem to be doing that naturally, which is always nice. So anything growing up off of these branches, I'll need to prune back. At least on these lower ones. The ones up in the higher part, they're all right, kind of growing a little more vertical. And there's some dead clusters of leaves in here that I'm trying to pick out. Can you see that in there? It's just like all this dead foliage that I've got to get out. Give some air circulation in these branches. Or get some air circulation in these branches. That's probably why this all died off. Just too congested. So I'm really liking it. It looks like a little miniature alpine tree. Very, very cool. So I'm just pruning most of the upward growth off of these branches. And in the future, I'll be doing more branch selecting as I learn more about this tree and how it grows. All these species are new for me, so I'm not real sure how they'll take all this pruning. I'm sure they'll be okay, but yeah, I think that's getting pretty good. I think I've got my miniature tree here. And there'll be a little thinning in the future, but I think it's at the point where there's some good airflow in these branches. They're not too congested. Okay, I think just taking a bit more of this dead foliage out of here. I don't know what happened here. Gotta prune it out. There. Well, that is a cool looking little tree. You can imagine that one in a little pot. A little alpine tree. That'll look awesome. Very nice. So I'm very happy with that tree. Turned out better than I ever expected for this little, when I first started it was this weird thing with these branches sticking out, and now it looks like a little miniature tree. It's very, very cool. So let's put that one away now. And get out the last tree I'll be working on today, which is a Cryptomeria japonica, so a Japanese cedar, and it's compressa, so it must mean, tight foliage. So this one's a little more open than the last Cryptomeria that I worked on. It's, quite a bit better. No problem seeing the structure of the tree here. It's not initially when I look at it, it's not a great structure. It's got all these Again, all these straight shoots that stick up. Well, not very nice, actually. However, that is the challenge, to grow it nice. So, I think I'm going to start. I've got to look at the root base, see how much trunk I have in here. It doesn't look like much. The roots start pretty well straight away. So I think I can prune off some of these lower branches. They're just too low. Otherwise, I'd have no trunk line at all. It'd just be like a bush. So I'm going to begin by pruning off these lower branches. I'll just roughly prune them at first, and then I can come back in and clean the stubs up. So I want some trunk on this tree. So now you can see kind of in here that I've got to clean that up. Taking it back to a trunk line. I could have gone with a twin trunk on this one. There's always possibilities, but I find with these super miniature trees that, you know, sometimes simplicity is nice, a single trunk line. And if you start getting too many trunks, it starts looking like a little bush, especially when it grows a bit. Hard to keep shape. So I've got a lot of shoots here and a part that's sticking up, a really vigorous shoot here. So I'm going to take off the really vigorous one right to here. Just like, I don't know what, there. Taking that off. This will be my apex. So I've got a branch out here that's way too vigorous and too long. I'll take it right off. Take the vertical growth off here, here, here. Same with this branch. I'm going to take the leader off the branch, take that back. There's one on the inside I can take out, like that. Yeah, there's a long branch over here that needs reducing back. I'll take it right back to here. Maybe a little further. Yeah. Like that. Take the tips off. Tips off. I'm compressing it. So it doesn't look like much yet. I've reduced it back quite a bit. However, I think this is like, you know, playing chess. I'm making a move here, and then I've got to wait for new shoots to grow in to further shape it. It doesn't look very tree-like at the moment. But I think that's what, I'll take this bigger shoot out there. That's what I've got to work towards in the future, is creating a tree-like structure out of it. But I have got it reduced down to a small tree. And I'll just have to wait, you know, till I get back buds on here if I do. And then reduce the branches back. If I don't get back buds on these, then I've got a lot of branches in this area, so I can just take the lower branches off and develop a structure up higher. So that's it for this cryptomeria. I think out of all the trees I've pruned up today, this is probably the least tree-like looking. However, you know, it's going to grow quite fine, I think. So let's have a look at all 4 trees together now. Here they are, the 4 trees I pruned today. So I've got kind of a low, fairly thick looking tree. Maybe like a traditional pine shape, bonsai kind of pine shape. A pyramidal shape in the development. A tall mountain style tree. And then one, I don't know what this one's going to be in the future, but one that isn't looking much like a tree. It looks more like a Dr. Seuss tree at the moment. But we'll see what we can turn it into. So there's the 4 trees for today. I'm going to plant the Hinoki false cypress cuttings, and I'm going to put them in the pot I made. I initially planted a eucalyptus in this pot and it didn't make it. It did not like the root pruning I did, and it did not like living here in the greenhouse. Maybe it was too humid for it, but it didn't make it. So out goes the eucalyptus, and in will go these hinoki cypress trees. I think the kind of bluey green color will match the pot quite nicely. And that kind of color of the bark will match the feet and the rust color here. So I think it'll be a good match. So here, I'll pull the eucalyptus out. That's too bad that didn't grow. And then I'll stick in my cuttings. I'm going to try and prune away some of these lower leaves so they're not in the soil. Now I want to stick this in the pot fairly deep. Just a little bit more off the bottom. Like that. And I'll stick it in the soil. So it's got a bit of a curve to it. So I'll kind of stick it so it's going vertical on the outside of the planting here. Like that. Then my next one, I'll do the same. I'll remove this lower foliage off. So I'll plant that in the pot. This one also curves a bit, so I'll stick it here, deep in the soil like that. And then I have one more cutting. It also curves, so I'll be putting it right here. So again, I'll just take, I don't know if you call these branches, I guess they are, little fine branches. I don't think these grow very fast. So they're kind of ideal trees that you can just kind of water, keep in the sun, take care of them, and do very little pruning on them. Maybe once a year. Okay, so this one's ready for planting also. So into the soil it goes, like that. And there, I have my very own pot planted. Once again with some trees, and hopefully they'll root and grow. I probably won't know if they've rooted until, I don't know, early summer. They'll either go brown or they'll put on new growth and begin growing. I'll give the newly planted cuttings a water. Okay, that should be good. Some big cuts to little trees today. I think it'll be quite interesting following along these little trees into the future and see how they do. See if they make the transition from these pots into the little pots. If I can keep them alive or not, that'll be another thing. And if I can keep them trimmed up and looking miniature. I'm going to build that display stand for these trees next. I think I've got the sizes in mind of, my shelves. So I think I'll build that next. I think that'll be a fun winter project. Get that out of the way and ready for, displaying these trees when they're eventually ready for a show far into the future. And that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.